Story 1. I've been working as a gate agent for Pacific Airways for about 3 years now. The job isn't glamorous, but it pays the bills while I finish my degree in hospitality management. I've seen my fair share of difficult passengers, but nothing quite prepared me for what happened last Tuesday evening. I took this job right after my mom got diagnosed with cancer. The airline offers decent health insurance, and a flexible schedule lets me take her to treatments when needed. Most days are routine check boarding passes, deal with the occasional overbooked flight, help elderly passengers navigate the gate area. But every now and then, you get someone who thinks the rules don't apply to them. It was around 6:30 p.m., and we were preparing for the final boarding call for Flight 447 to Denver. This was the last flight of the day to that destination, and we had a full plane. I was at my station behind the desk when I noticed a woman in her 40s pacing near the gate entrance. She kept checking her phone and looking around frantically. The woman approached my desk just as I was about to make the final boarding announcement. "Karen, excuse me, you need to hold this flight." Me, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but we're just about to close the gate. Do you have your boarding pass ready?" "Karen, my husband is parking the car. He'll be here any minute. I'm a frequent flyer with this airline. I have over 100,000 miles. I deserve some flexibility here." I glanced at the clock. We were already running 5 minutes behind schedule, and the flight crew was getting antsy. The captain had already called down twice asking about our departure time. "Me, I understand your situation, but unfortunately, we can't hold the aircraft. Federal regulations require us to close the gate 10 minutes before departure, and we're past that deadline. I can help you book the next available flight." "Karen, no, you don't understand. I fly with this airline every month for work. I know the policies better than you do. My husband will be here in 2 minutes." "Me, ma'am, I really wish I could help, but the aircraft door is already sealed. The ground crew is preparing for pushback." That's when things escalated. Karen started raising her voice, attracting attention from other passengers waiting for their flights. "Karen, this is ridiculous. I spend thousands of dollars with this airline every year. You people are supposed to take care of your loyal customers." My supervisor noticed the commotion and walked over. He's been with the company for 15 years and usually knows how to handle these situations diplomatically. "Supervisor, is there a problem here?" "Karen, yes, there's a problem. Your agent here refuses to hold my flight, even though my husband is literally pulling up to the curb right now." "Supervisor, I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but once the gate is closed, we can't reopen it for safety and security reasons. I'd be happy to help you with rebooking options." Karen pulled out her phone and waved it in our faces. "Karen, see this? Platinum status. I've been flying with this airline for 8 years. This is discrimination against frequent flyers." I tried to explain that status didn't change federal aviation regulations, but she wasn't listening. Instead, she pushed past me and started walking down the jet bridge toward the aircraft. "Me, ma'am, you can't go down there. The area is restricted once the gate is closed." "Karen, watch me. I'm getting on that plane." My supervisor immediately radioed for security while I followed her down the jet bridge. She reached the aircraft door and started pounding on it. "Karen, open this door. I have a confirmed seat on this flight." The flight attendant inside looked confused and concerned. Through the small window, I could see passengers staring at the commotion. Karen then did something that shocked everyone. She positioned herself directly in front of the aircraft door and spread her arms wide. "Karen, I'm not moving until you let me and my husband on this plane." At this point, airport security arrived. 2 officers calmly approached her. "Security officer, ma'am, you need to step away from the aircraft immediately. This is a restricted area." "Karen, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just trying to get on my flight that I paid for." "Security officer, you're interfering with aircraft operations, which is a federal offense. Please come with us." She finally stepped away from the door, but continued arguing as they escorted her back up the jet bridge. The whole incident had delayed our departure by 20 minutes. Just as we reached the gate area, a man came running up, presumably her husband. "Husband, what's going on? Where's our flight?" "Karen, these incompetent people wouldn't hold the plane for 2 minutes. This is all your fault for taking so long to park." The husband looked embarrassed as he realized what had happened. Security explained the situation to him, while Karen continued her tirade about frequent flyer privileges and poor customer service. The next part was the most satisfying moment of my 3 years on the job. My supervisor returned from making some phone calls with news that made everyone's day a little brighter. "Supervisor, ma'am, I've been in contact with our corporate security department. Due to your interference with aircraft operations and disruptive behavior, you're being placed on our no-fly list for 24 months. Karen's face went completely white. "Karen, you can't do that. I have business trips scheduled. I'll sue this airline." "Supervisor, you're welcome to contact our legal department. Security will escort you out of the terminal now." The husband tried to argue that he hadn't done anything wrong and should still be allowed to fly. But since they were traveling together on the same reservation, the ban applied to both of them. As security led them away, Karen was still screaming about lawyers and corporate complaints. The other passengers waiting in the gate area actually started clapping. The flight crew sent down a bottle of wine for our team later that evening with a note thanking us for handling the situation professionally. Apparently, the passengers on the plane were also grateful that we didn't cave to her demands and delay everyone's evening further. I found out later that Karen did try to file complaints with both the airline and the Federal Aviation Administration. But since we had security footage of her physically blocking aircraft operations, her complaints went nowhere. The 2-year ban stood firm. Her husband called our customer service line 3 times in the following week, trying to get the ban reduced, but corporate wouldn't budge. Turns out she wasn't even close to the frequent flyer status. She claimed she had barely flown 30,000 miles in the past year. Sometimes I wonder if she learned anything from the experience, but honestly, I doubt it. People like that rarely do. Story 2. I'm a software engineer who works from home, which means I see everything that happens on our street. Our homeowners association has always been strict, but manageable. We have rules about lawn height, holiday decorations, and parking. Most of us follow them without much fuss because we want to keep our property values up. Karen became our homeowners association president about 2 years ago. She was always the type to measure your grass with a ruler and leave passive-aggressive notes about your trash cans being out too long. But she kept things running smoothly, so we tolerated her nitpicking. Everything changed about 6 months ago when she started going completely overboard. She began driving around the neighborhood with a clipboard, taking photos of every tiny violation. She fined my elderly neighbor for having a small garden gnome, saying it violated our aesthetic standards. She made another neighbor repaint their front door because the shade of blue was apparently not on the approved color list. The final straw for most of us came when she tried to ban children from playing in the small community park because their noise was disrupting the peaceful atmosphere. Parents were furious, but Karen doubled down, threatening fines for anyone who let their kids play there after 6 p.m. Now, let me tell you about last Tuesday. I was in my home office when I smelled smoke. Looking out my window, I saw flames coming from the house 3 doors down. My neighbor there is an older gentleman who lives alone, and I immediately called 911 while running outside to see if he was okay. The fire department arrived within minutes. 2 fire trucks pulled onto our street, and the firefighters immediately got to work. They parked one truck on the street and positioned the other partially on the small strip of community grass that runs along the sidewalk. This grass area is maybe 3 feet wide and exists purely for decoration. The homeowner had already evacuated safely, and the firefighters were setting up their equipment when Karen came marching out of her house. She was wearing her bathrobe and slippers, but she had her clipboard and measuring tape in hand. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. "Karen, excuse me, you can't park there." "Fire chief, ma'am, We're responding to an emergency. Please step back. Karen, I don't care what you're doing. That's community property and you're damaging our grass. You need to move that truck immediately. Fire Chief, ma'am, we need to position our equipment to fight this fire effectively. Your grass is not our priority right now. Karen, well, it should be. Do you have any idea how much we pay to maintain this landscaping? I'm the Homeowners Association president, and I'm telling you to move that truck right now. The fire chief just stared at her for a moment, then turned back to directing his crew. They were pulling hoses and setting up ladders while Karen continued her rant. Karen, this is unacceptable. I'm going to file a complaint with your department. You're going to pay for any damage to our grass. That's when things got really insane. The firefighters were running a hose from the truck to the house, and Karen actually stepped in front of it, blocking their path. Karen, you're not running that dirty hose across our pristine grass. Find another way. Firefighter, ma'am, you need to move. Now. Karen, I will not move until you agree to relocate your equipment off our community grass. My neighbor across the street had her phone out, recording everything. Later, we found out her doorbell camera caught the whole thing too. The fire chief had to physically move around Karen to help his crew continue fighting the fire. Fire Chief, ma'am, you are interfering with emergency operations. If you don't step back immediately, I will have you arrested. Karen, you can't arrest me. I live here. I pay taxes. This is my community, and I have every right to protect our property values. The fire chief radioed for police backup, while his crew continued working around Karen's tantrum. She kept following them around, threatening to fine them for every step they took on the grass. Karen, I'm documenting every bit of damage you're causing. The Homeowners Association will be billing your department for grass replacement, and I personally will be filing complaints with the city, the fire marshal, and whoever else will listen. By this point, other neighbors had come outside. Everyone was staring in disbelief. Here was a house actively on fire, and our Homeowners Association president was more concerned about decorative grass than someone's home and safety. The police arrived just as the firefighters got the blaze under control. Karen immediately ran to the officers. Karen, officers, I want to file a complaint against these firefighters. They've damaged community property and refused to follow Homeowners Association regulations. Police officer, ma'am, are you seriously complaining about firefighters doing their job? Karen, I'm complaining about them violating our community standards. They could have parked somewhere else. Police officer, where exactly should they have parked while fighting a fire? Karen, I don't know. That's their problem to figure out. All I know is they damaged our grass, and they need to be held accountable. The police officer looked at the fire chief, who was shaking his head in amazement. Fire Chief, I've been doing this job for 23 years, and I have never encountered anything like this. She actively interfered with our operations and blocked our equipment during an active fire. That's when my neighbor with the doorbell camera spoke up. Neighbor, officers, I have the whole thing recorded. She was blocking the hose and threatening the firefighters while they were trying to save someone's house. The fire chief took down everyone's contact information and said he'd be filing an official report about the interference. Karen kept insisting she was just protecting community property and doing her job as Homeowners Association president. By Friday, the video had been shared with every homeowner in our subdivision. By Saturday, someone had posted it online, and it started going viral. By Sunday, we had reporters calling some of us for interviews. But the best part came on Monday. The Homeowners Association board called an emergency meeting. Karen showed up with a folder full of photos showing the tire marks on the grass, expecting everyone to support her actions. Instead, she walked into a room full of furious neighbors. The board had already received the fire chief's official complaint, seen the viral video, and fielded dozens of calls from embarrassed residents. Board member, Karen, your behavior during the fire was completely unacceptable and has brought negative attention to our entire community. Karen, I was protecting our property values. That's what you elected me to do. Board member, You interfered with emergency responders during an active fire. You put people's safety at risk over grass. Karen, it's not just grass. It's about maintaining standards. The vote wasn't even close. The board removed her as president immediately, with a vote of 6-0. Karen stormed out, yelling about how we'd all regret this decision when our property values plummeted due to damaged grass. The fire chief's complaint led to a formal investigation. Karen received a citation for interfering with emergency operations and had to pay a fine. The Homeowners Association also had to issue a public apology and donate money to the local fire department. Our new Homeowners Association president is much more reasonable. The first thing she did was send a thank you card to the fire department and establish a policy that emergency responders always have the right of way on any community property. Karen still lives in the neighborhood, but she barely makes eye contact with anyone. The grass she was so worried about, it grew back perfectly in about 2 weeks. Her reputation, that's going to take a lot longer to recover. Story 3. I've been working as a lifeguard at the community center for 3 summers now. Started when I was 16, mainly because I needed the money for college and I was already on the swim team. The pay isn't amazing, but it's decent for a part-time job, and I genuinely like working with kids. Plus, the community center serves a lot of families who can't afford private pools or expensive swim clubs, so I feel like I'm doing something good. Our pool area is pretty standard: a large main pool, a smaller kiddie pool, and some lounge chairs scattered around. It's usually busy during summer afternoons, especially on weekends when working parents bring their children for some fun. The noise level is exactly what you'd expect from a family pool: kids laughing, splashing, the occasional happy shriek when someone cannonballs into the water. Last Saturday started like any other weekend shift. I arrived at noon to find about 20 kids already in the pool with their parents. The younger ones were in the shallow end with floaties, while some older kids were playing Marco Polo in the deeper section. Everything was normal and everyone seemed happy. Around 2 in the afternoon, this woman showed up. She looked to be in her 40s, wearing expensive-looking workout clothes and carrying one of those oversized designer bags. She didn't have any swimming gear with her, no towel, nothing. She just walked over to one of the lounge chairs near the pool and sat down. At first, I didn't think much of it. Sometimes people come to watch their kids swim or just relax by the water. But within 10 minutes, she was already looking annoyed. She kept glaring at the children in the pool, who were just being normal kids playing games, laughing, having fun. Then she stood up and walked over to where a group of kids were playing in the shallow end. These were probably 7 or 8-year-olds just splashing around and giggling. "Karen, excuse me. You children need to be quieter." The kids looked confused and a little scared. One of the mothers nearby looked up from her book. "Mother, I'm sorry. Is there a problem?" Karen, "Yes, there's a problem. I'm trying to meditate and these children are being extremely disruptive." "Mother, this is a family pool. Kids are going to make noise when they play." Karen, "Well, I have just as much right to use this facility as anyone else, and I need quiet for my meditation practice." I watched this exchange from my lifeguard chair, already feeling like this might become an issue. The mother just shook her head and went back to reading, probably thinking the woman would just leave if she didn't engage. But Karen didn't leave. Instead, she moved to another group of kids who were playing volleyball in the water. "Karen, you all need to stop this immediately. There are people here who need peace and quiet." One of the dads in the pool responded. "Dad, lady, this is a public pool. If you want silence, maybe try the library." "Karen, don't you dare speak to me like that. I'm a paying member of this community center and I deserve respect." The kids had stopped playing by now and were just staring at her. You could see they were getting upset and confused about why this strange woman was yelling at them. That's when I decided I needed to intervene. I climbed down from my chair and walked over. "Ma'am, is there something I can help you with?" Karen, "Yes, these children are being completely out of control and their parents clearly don't care about anyone else here. Me, actually. The kids are just playing normally. This is a family pool area, so some noise is expected. Karen, I don't care what's expected. I'm trying to meditate and I need quiet. Me, I understand you'd like some peace, but maybe the pool area isn't the best place for meditation. There's a quiet lounge upstairs that might work better for you. Karen, no, I want to be by the pool for my meditation. These kids need to be quiet or they need to leave. Me, ma'am, I can't ask families to leave because you want to meditate. This is a family facility. That's when she really lost it. Her face turned red and she started pointing at me aggressively. Karen, you're just a teenager. You don't get to tell me what to do. I'm calling your manager right now. Me, that's your right. But in the meantime, I need you to stop harassing the families here. Karen, harassing. Harassing? I'm not harassing anyone. I'm demanding basic respect. She stormed back to her chair, pulled out her phone, and made what I assumed was a call to complain about me. Meanwhile, the kids and parents were watching this whole scene unfold. I felt bad that their fun day was being ruined by this woman's behavior. But she wasn't done. After her phone call, she marched back over to the pool where some kids were playing with pool noodles. Karen, I said be quiet. You're all spoiled brats and your parents should be ashamed. One little girl, probably about 6 years old, started crying. That's when several parents stood up and started telling Karen to leave the children alone. Father, that's enough. Don't you dare yell at my daughter. Karen, your daughter needs to learn respect for others. Mother, she's 6 years old. She's just playing. Karen, I don't care how old she is. Age is no excuse for being inconsiderate. The situation was escalating quickly. I walked over again, this time more firmly. Me, ma'am, you need to stop yelling at the children or I'm gonna have to ask you to leave the pool area. Karen, you can't make me leave. I have every right to be here. Me, you have a right to use the facility, but you don't have a right to harass other members. That's when she did something I never expected. She reached for the whistle hanging around my neck and tried to grab it. Karen, give me that whistle. If you won't do your job properly, I'll do it myself. I stepped back quickly, but she kept trying to grab the whistle, actually getting her hands on the lanyard and pulling. Me, ma'am, you need to stop. You cannot touch me or my equipment. Karen, I'll blow this whistle until every single one of these brats gets out of the pool. She was still grabbing for my whistle when I signaled to the front desk. Our security guard, who had been watching from across the pool deck, came over immediately. Security, ma'am, I need you to step away from the lifeguard. Karen, he's not doing his job. These children are completely out of control, and he won't make them be quiet. Security, you need to come with me. You're being disruptive, and you just physically grabbed our staff member. Karen, I barely touched him, and I'm not leaving until someone makes these kids shut up. By now, pretty much every parent at the pool was watching and several were recording with their phones. The kids were all quiet, but only because they were scared and confused by this woman's behavior. Security, ma'am, you can either come with me voluntarily or I can call the police for harassment and assault. Karen, assault? Assault? You people are all insane. I'm the victim here. But as security started walking her toward the exit, something amazing happened. Every single parent at the pool started booing her. It wasn't organized or planned, it just happened naturally. 20 adults all expressing their disgust at this woman who had terrorized their children. As she was being walked out, Karen kept yelling over her shoulder. Karen, you'll all be hearing from my lawyer. This is discrimination. I'm going to sue every one of you. After she was gone, the pool area was quiet for about 30 seconds. Then one of the dads shouted, "Good riddance," and everyone started laughing and clapping. The kids, seeing that the adults were happy again, jumped back into their games like nothing had happened. Several parents came up to thank me for handling the situation. The mother of the little girl who had been crying gave me a $20 tip, which was really sweet but totally unnecessary. The best part came about an hour later when my manager showed up. Apparently, Karen had called to complain about me, But by the time my manager arrived, she had already heard the real story from security and from several parents who had also called to praise how I handled things. Manager, so I hear you had quite the afternoon. Me, yeah, it was pretty wild. Manager, well, for what it's worth, you did exactly the right thing. That woman's membership has been revoked. Turns out, this wasn't her first incident at the community center. She had previously complained about music being too loud in fitness classes, about people talking in the quiet study areas, and about children making noise in the children's play area. The pool incident was apparently the final straw. The rest of my shift was actually really nice. The families who had witnessed everything were extra friendly, and the kids kept coming up to tell me I was cool for getting rid of the mean lady. When I got home that night, my mom asked how work was. I told her it was probably the most interesting day I'd had all summer. Sometimes standing up to entitled people really does work out exactly how it should. Story 4. I've been working at our local petting zoo for about 6 months now. It's a small operation run by the Parks and Recreation Department. Nothing fancy, but I love working with the animals. I'm 17, and this is my first real job. The pay isn't much, but I get to spend my afternoons feeding goats, cleaning rabbit hutches, and helping kids learn about farm animals. My supervisor hired me because I'd been volunteering at the animal shelter since I was 14. My mom thought it would be good for me to learn responsibility, and honestly, I just loved being around animals. When this job opened up, it felt perfect. Most days are pretty calm. Kids come through with their parents, pet the goats, feed the ducks, and leave happy. That Tuesday started like any other day. I was cleaning out the rabbit area when I heard shouting from the goat pen. I looked over and saw this woman with her kid, maybe 5 years old, standing near our biggest goat, Charlie. Charlie's actually super gentle, but he's also food motivated. If you're not careful with the feed pellets, he'll definitely try to grab the whole container. The kid was holding a cup of feed pellets, and Charlie was doing his usual thing, stretching his neck toward the food. The boy got startled and dropped the cup, spilling pellets everywhere. Charlie immediately started munching on them off the ground. That's when the woman completely lost it. Karen, this is absolutely unacceptable. Your animal attacked my son. I walked over quickly, trying to keep things calm. Me, I'm sorry about that. Charlie can be a little eager for food, but he didn't hurt anyone, right? Your son looks fine. Boy, Mom, I'm okay. The goat just wanted food. Karen, no, you're not okay. You're traumatized. This goat was aggressive and violent. I looked at Charlie, who was peacefully eating spilled pellets and completely ignoring everyone around him. Me, ma'am, I understand it might have been startling, but Charlie really is gentle. He just gets excited about food. Would you like me to show your son how to feed him safely? Karen, I want a full refund right now, and I want compensation for the emotional trauma you've caused my child. My coworker Sarah, who's 16 and has been here longer than me, came over to help. Sarah, what seems to be the problem? Karen, your animals are dangerous. This goat attacked my son, and now he's going to need therapy. I demand a refund, and I'm calling my lawyer. The boy was now playing with our baby chickens and seemed completely fine, but Karen kept getting louder. Me, I can get our supervisor if you'd like to speak with someone else about this. Karen, I don't want to speak to anyone else. I want money and I want it now. Other families were starting to stare. A couple with 2 young kids looked really uncomfortable and started moving away from us. Sarah, ma'am, you're scaring the other children. Could you please lower your voice? Karen, don't you dare tell me how to act. You're just teenagers. Where are the real employees? That stung a bit. Sarah and I take our jobs seriously, and we both know these animals better than anyone. Me, we are real employees. We're trained and certified to work here. Karen started yelling even louder, and I saw the couple with the 2 kids quickly leave through the exit. Their kids looked scared, and one was starting to cry. Karen, I want the manager. I want corporate. This place is a lawsuit waiting to happen. Sarah went to call our supervisor while I tried to calm things down. Me, your son really seems fine now. Look, he's having fun with the chickens. Karen, that doesn't matter. The damage is done. He's traumatized for life. Her son was giggling as a chicken sat on his shoulder. Boy, Mom, can we get chickens at home? Karen, see? He's so traumatized he's having delusions. I was starting to think this woman was the one having delusions. Our supervisor, an older guy who's worked for Parks and Rec for 20 years, finally showed up. Supervisor, what seems to be the issue here? Karen launched into this dramatic story about how Charlie had viciously attacked her son and how we were negligent and dangerous. She demanded a full refund plus money for emotional damages and therapy costs. Supervisor, ma'am, I've reviewed our security footage. Your son dropped food and our goat ate it off the ground. That's normal animal behavior. Karen, I don't care what your footage shows. I know what happened. Supervisor, I can offer you a refund for today's admission, but I can't pay for imaginary therapy costs. Karen, this is discrimination. I'm calling the police. Supervisor, that's your right, ma'am. She stormed off toward the parking lot, dragging her confused son behind her. We thought that was the end of it, but about 20 minutes later, Sarah came running over. Sarah, she's by the storage shed. She's taking stuff. I looked over and saw Karen shoving something into her car trunk. We walked over and saw her loading up a whole crate of duck feed pellets. Me, excuse me, what are you doing? Karen, I'm taking what I'm owed. You people refuse to compensate me properly. Supervisor, ma'am, that's theft. Please put that back. Karen, it's not theft, it's compensation. That's when our supervisor called the police. Karen kept yelling about how she was entitled to compensation and how we were criminals for not paying her. When the officers arrived, they listened to both sides of the story. Karen tried to convince them that we owed her money for her son's trauma, but the boy was happily playing with dandelions and seemed completely unbothered by everything. Officer, ma'am, you can't just take property that isn't yours, regardless of your feelings about the situation. Karen, this is outrageous. I'm a taxpayer. I pay your salaries. Officer, and now you're under arrest for theft. They put her in handcuffs while her son watched in confusion. A relative came to pick up the boy while Karen got a ride to the police station. But here's the best part. The next week, our supervisor got a call from the main Parks and Recreation office. Apparently, Karen had tried to file complaints at every single park property in the county, claiming various animals had attacked her son at places that don't even have animals. She's now banned from all parks and recreation properties in the area. Every park, every playground, every community center. Her son will have to go to private facilities if she wants to take him anywhere for outdoor fun. The whole thing was insane. Charlie the goat is still happily eating pellets from visitors' hands every day. Kids love him. And Sarah and I learned that some people will try to turn absolutely anything into a lawsuit, even when their own kid is telling them everything's fine. The funniest part is that Karen probably spent more on legal fees and court costs than she would have just paying for regular admission to begin with, all because a goat wanted some food pellets. Story 5. I've always been the creative type in my family. While my sister went to business school and my brother studied law, I chose art school. My family thought I was crazy, but art was my passion. After years of struggling to make ends meet with gallery shows and commission work, I finally found my niche in murals. The pay was decent, and I loved transforming boring walls into something beautiful. My sister had opened a small coffee shop downtown 3 years ago. The place was doing well, but she wanted something special to make it stand out from the chain stores nearby. She asked if I'd paint a mural on the main wall behind the counter. I was excited to help her business and finally have one of my pieces displayed somewhere my family would see it every day. I'd been working on the mural for 2 days. It was a nature scene with rolling hills, trees, and a sunset sky painted in warm oranges, deep purples, and soft yellows. Nothing too bold or flashy, just something peaceful that would complement the cozy atmosphere of the cafe. I was about halfway done and really happy with how it was turning out. It was a Tuesday morning around 10 when I was touching up some details on the trees. The coffee shop was busy, but not packed. I had my easel set up in the corner, staying out of everyone's way. The regular customers had been really supportive, stopping by to compliment the work and asking questions about my process. That's when she walked in. This woman in her 50s burst through the door like she owned the place. She looked around with this disgusted expression. Then her eyes landed on my mural. Her face twisted up like she'd just smelled something rotten. "Karen, excuse me, what is this?" I turned around, paintbrush still in hand. "Me, I'm painting a mural for the coffee shop. Is there something I can help you with?" "Karen, help me. Help me? Do you have any idea what you're doing to me right now?" I honestly had no clue what she was talking about. I looked around to see if other customers were staring, and they were. My sister was behind the counter serving someone, but I could see her glancing over with concern. "Me, I'm sorry, but I don't understand what the problem is." "Karen, those colors, those horrible, bright colors are giving me a migraine. I can't even look at them." I looked back at my mural. The colors were actually pretty muted. Nothing neon or harsh about them at all. "Me, ma'am, these aren't really bright colors. They're pretty standard earth tones and—" "Karen, don't you dare tell me what triggers my migraines. I know my own medical conditions better than some amateur painter." Amateur painter? That stung. I've been doing this professionally for over a decade. "Karen, you need to stop this immediately and paint over this eyesore." "Me, I can't do that. This is a commissioned piece for the cafe owner." That's when she marched over to the counter. My sister was finishing up with a customer, and Karen pushed right past the person waiting in line. "Karen, manager, I need to speak to the manager right now." "My sister, I'm the owner. How can I help you?" "Karen, your so-called artist is creating a health hazard. His painting is causing me severe medical distress." My sister looked confused and glanced over at me. I just shrugged. "My sister, I'm sorry you're not feeling well, but the mural is a commissioned piece for our cafe. The artist is my brother, and—" "Karen, I don't care if he's your brother, your cousin, or your husband. What he's doing is illegal. You're allowing someone to create a public nuisance that's causing me physical harm." The other customers were really staring now. Some were taking out their phones. "Karen, I'm going to sue you both for intentional emotional distress and creating an unsafe environment. My migraines are a documented medical condition, and you're deliberately ignoring my disability." My sister looked genuinely worried. Small business owners can't afford frivolous lawsuits, even if they're baseless. "My sister, look, maybe we can work something out. What if we—" That's when our brother walked in. He'd been planning to stop by for his usual morning coffee before heading to his law office. Perfect timing. My brother, "Hey, what's going on here?" Karen spun around to face him. "Karen, and who are you?" "My brother, I'm her other brother. Is there a problem?" Karen, "Yes, there's a problem. Your family is running an illegal operation here. I'm going to sue all of you." My brother looked at me, then at the mural, then back at Karen. I could see the exact moment he shifted into lawyer mode. "My brother, I see. And what exactly are you planning to sue for?" Karen, intentional emotional distress, creating a public health hazard, violating disability accommodation laws. My brother, interesting. And you believe a mural with earth tone colors in a private business constitutes a public health hazard? Karen, those colors trigger my migraines. It's a documented medical condition. My brother, do you have that documentation with you? Karen, I don't need to carry my medical records around. My brother, of course not. But you would need them for any lawsuit, along with proof that you requested reasonable accommodation under the Americans with Disabilities Act, and that the business refused to provide it. Karen looked less confident now. My brother, you'd also need to prove that the business intentionally created conditions to cause you distress, rather than simply operating normally. A mural commissioned for aesthetic purposes wouldn't qualify. Karen, you don't know what you're talking about. My brother reached into his jacket and pulled out his business card. My brother, actually, I do. I'm a practicing attorney specializing in civil litigation. Here's my card. Karen's face went white as she read it. My brother, now, regarding your threats to sue my family's business, I should inform you that making false legal threats can constitute harassment, especially when you're disrupting their business operations. Karen, This isn't. You can't. My brother, what I can do is offer you some free legal advice. Leave now, don't come back, and don't contact my family again. Otherwise, you'll be receiving a cease and desist letter from my office. Karen looked around the coffee shop. Every customer was watching her. Some were definitely recording. Karen, this isn't over. My brother, actually, it is. Have a good day. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the little bell fell off. The coffee shop erupted in applause. My sister was grinning, and my brother looked pretty pleased with himself. My brother, I think I'm going to start coming here more often. This place has great entertainment. I went back to painting my mural. Nobody complained about the colors for the rest of the week. Karen never came back, and I never got that cease and desist letter he mentioned. The mural turned out great, and it's still there 2 years later. My sister says customers often comment on how peaceful and welcoming it makes the space feel. Funny how the same colors that supposedly cause such medical distress actually help other people relax. Sometimes being part of a family where everyone has different skills really pays off.